There was a version of you that did not make it this far. A version of you that gave up somewhere in the middle of the pain, somewhere between the loss and the silence and the unanswered prayers. But that version of you is not the one watching this today. The one who made it through, the one sitting here right now, is the version heaven always knew would survive long enough to hear what is about to be spoken over your life. Think about where you were 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Think about the nights that stretched so dark. That morning felt like a rumor you could no longer believe in. Think about the times you smiled in public and fell apart in private. Think about the prayers that seemed to dissolve into the ceiling, the promises that felt hollow, the faith you held onto by your fingernails when everything in the natural world told you to let go. You held on. You are still here. And that is not an accident. That is not coincidence. That is the hand of God, steady and unseen, holding the thread of your life even when you could not feel it. Because here is what the enemy never told you about all those years of struggle. He never told you that every single thing you endured was being cataloged in heaven. Every tear you cried in a room where no one could see you. Every moment you chose to get up when lying down would have been so much easier. Every time you whispered a prayer with a broken voice and a trembling heart, heaven heard it. Heaven recorded it. And heaven has been building something in the silence that the natural eye cannot yet see, but the spirit inside you already knows is real. That is why you are here right now. Not because the algorithm chose you, not because this video appeared by chance in a sea of content. You were guided here. Something in your spirit recognized this moment before your mind could explain it. That is the voice of God drawing you into alignment with what He is about to do. And what He is about to do is not small. What is coming is not a minor adjustment to your life. What is coming is a complete and total repositioning of everything. Your relationships, your resources, your purpose, your peace, your power. July 1 and 2 are not simply dates on a calendar. They are not arbitrary numbers that someone decided to attach meaning to. These 2 days carry the weight of a divine appointment that has been written in the books of heaven long before you were born. There are moments in time that God marks. Moments where the spiritual atmosphere shifts so dramatically that what was impossible on one side of that moment becomes inevitable on the other side of it. You are approaching one of those moments right now. You are days away from stepping through a door that only opens once in a generation, and you are one of the souls who was chosen to walk through it. Do you understand what it means to be chosen? Not in the way the world uses that word, as though it simply means preferred or favored in a superficial sense. To be chosen in the way heaven means it is to be selected, set apart, and specifically equipped for an assignment that no one else carries in exactly the way you carry it. You were not chosen because you were the strongest. You were not chosen because you had everything figured out. You were chosen because God looked through all of time and decided that your particular combination of pain, persistence, faith, and hunger was exactly what this moment required. He chose the broken one. He chose the one who kept praying in the dark. He chose you. And now, standing on this side of everything you have survived, you can begin to see the architecture of it all. The rejection that redirected you. The closed doors that kept you from the wrong rooms. The delay that was not punishment but preparation. The waiting season that was not abandonment but alignment. God was never absent in those years. He was present in every single one of them, weaving something together that your natural mind could not comprehend at the time, but that your spirit always sensed was real. This is the moment where that weaving becomes visible. This is where the pattern emerges from the chaos. This is where July 1 and 2 step into your story, not as ordinary days, but as the final coordinates in a divine navigation system that has been guiding you here all along. Heaven pressed pause on many things in your life, not to punish you, but to position you for this exact threshold. Right now, if you feel something stirring in your chest, if you feel something shifting in your spirit, as these words move through you, that is not emotion. That is confirmation. That is the Holy Spirit bearing witness to what is true. That is heaven saying, yes, this message is for you. Yes, you are the one. Yes, what is coming will change everything. Type 555 in the comments right now as a declaration that you are ready, that you have survived the past, that you are present in this moment, and that you are open to everything heaven is about to release into your life. Because what is coming next is going to take everything you thought you knew about your future and expand it beyond what you have dared to imagine. You are not at the end of your story. You are at the beginning of the chapter heaven has been waiting to write. You were never meant to fit in. That truth, as simple as it sounds, carries the weight of an entire lifetime of misunderstanding. Because fitting in was never the assignment. Belonging to the crowd was never the calling. And the very thing that made you feel like an outsider for so long, that strange sense that you were somehow different, that you could not quite match the frequency of the world around you, was never a flaw. It was a fingerprint. It was the mark of heaven pressed into the fabric of who you are before you ever took your first breath on this earth. Think back to your childhood. Think back to the earliest moments when you first felt that distance between yourself and others around you. Maybe you could not explain it then. Maybe you tried to push it down and pretend it was not there. Maybe you spent years attempting to reshape yourself to fit into spaces that were never designed to hold you. Maybe you changed your voice, your laughter, your opinions, your dreams, all in the hope that one day you would finally feel like you belonged somewhere. But no matter how hard you tried, something in you always knew. Something in you always resisted the mold. Something in you refused to be reduced to what the world wanted you to become. That resistance was not rebellion. That resistance was divine preservation. God was protecting the original design He placed in you before the world had a chance to alter it. The parts of you that never fit, the sensitivity that others called weakness, the depth that others called too much, the vision that others called unrealistic, the faith that others called naive. Those were never liabilities. Those were assets of the kingdom, hidden in you for a time such as this. Heaven does not make mistakes. Heaven does not accidentally place a chosen soul in the wrong body, the wrong family, the wrong generation. Every detail of your design was intentional. And that intentionality extended to every relationship that did not work out, every friendship that dissolved, every partner who could not stay, every community that made you feel more alone inside it than you felt on your own. Those departures were not rejections from heaven. They were redirections by heaven. God was clearing your table. He was removing what could not go where He is taking you. He was protecting the assignment inside you from being suffocated by attachments that would have kept you tethered to a version of your life that was always meant to be temporary. The people who left were not your destiny. The doors that closed were not your future. The seasons that ended were not your final chapter. They were all part of the preparation, the long and sometimes agonizing preparation for what is coming now. For what July 1 and 2 are unlocking in the spiritual atmosphere over your life. And as painful as those losses were, as real as the grief was, as genuine as the loneliness felt, heaven was never far. Heaven was always present in the in-between, doing something you could not see, but that your spirit could feel. You carry something rare. Not everyone is built the way you are built. Not everyone can feel the weight of what is unseen, sense the shift in a room before anyone else does, carry the burdens of others as though they are your own, and still find the strength to stand up and press forward. That capacity is not ordinary. That is the mark of someone who has been chosen to carry something beyond the natural. That is the mark of someone whose life is not entirely their own, because it belongs to a purpose larger than any single moment of pain could contain. And it is because you carry something this significant that the opposition has been so intense. Because darkness does not waste its energy on those who pose no threat. The enemy does not organize resistance campaigns against lives that carry no kingdom weight. The fact that you have faced what you have faced, the betrayals, the delays, the confusion, the spiritual heaviness that sometimes settled over you without warning, is itself evidence that what you carry is dangerous to the plans of darkness. You have always been a threat. You have always been a target because you have always been a treasure. Now here is what we want to say to you from this channel, from every voice that has ever spoken a word of truth over your life through this platform. We see you. We know that the road to this moment was not easy. We know that some of you found this channel in some of your darkest hours, that these words became a place of refuge when the walls of your life felt like they were closing in. We do not take that lightly. Every video we create, every script, every word spoken into the atmosphere over your life, we pour into it with everything we have. Because you deserve that. Because your journey deserves to be honored, not just acknowledged. We want to be transparent with you. This channel is no longer monetized through YouTube. We do not earn from the ads you see or the views you bring. But we are still here. We are still creating. We are still showing up every single time because we believe in what God is doing through this space and in the lives of people like you. If these messages have touched you, if something here has helped you hold on during a difficult night or helped you find your footing when the ground felt unstable, and if you feel moved in your heart to support this work continuing, there is a donate link in the pinned comment and in the description below. Whatever you can give, even the smallest offering, means more than we can express. It is not a requirement. It is never a condition. But if this has been a place of grace for you and you want to help keep it alive, that gift, however small, is genuinely treasured. And if you are not in a season where giving is possible, that is perfectly all right. Your presence here matters just as much. Leaving a comment, sharing this video with one person who needs to hear it, subscribing so you never miss what heaven is releasing through this channel next. Things carry enormous weight. They tell us to keep going. They remind us that this work is reaching the people it was meant to reach. So if this message is speaking to something in you today, like this video, share it with someone who needs it. Subscribe if you have not already done so. And know that in doing any of those things, you are participating in something far greater than a YouTube channel. You are helping carry a word to the ears of someone who may be standing at the very edge of giving up. Because that is who this is for. It is for the one who is tired, the one who has been strong for too long, the one who wonders whether heaven still sees them, still knows their name, still has a plan for their life. This channel exists as a reminder that the answer to all of those questions is yes. Heaven sees you. Heaven knows your name. And the plan over your life has not expired. It has not been canceled. It has not been given to someone else because you took too long or stumbled too many times. You were never meant to blend in. And now finally you are beginning to understand why. The isolation was the incubator. The silence was the school, and everything that made you feel like you did not belong was simply heaven's way of keeping you set apart for a moment that the crowd was never going to be invited into. This moment, these days, this turning point that is arriving now, with the weight and the certainty of something written long before the foundations of the earth were laid. You are different. You have always been different. And what is coming will finally show you that different was always the point. There are things you have felt that you never had the language to explain. Moments where you woke up at 2 or 3 in the morning with a heaviness in your chest that had no name. Moments where a song came on and something deep inside you broke open in a way that felt less like sadness and more like recognition, as though the melody was touching something ancient living inside you. Moments where you looked at the sky and felt simultaneously small and significant, like you were standing at the intersection of the finite and the infinite, like heaven and earth were pressing against each other right at the place where you stood. You thought those moments were strange. You wondered if other people experienced the world the way you did, with that constant undercurrent of something more, that persistent sense that there was a layer to reality that most people moved through without ever noticing. And when you tried to describe it, the words always fell short. Not because the experience was not real, but because some things are too large for ordinary language. Some things can only be known in the spirit before they can ever be spoken in words. Those moments were not imagination. Those were not episodes of overthinking or emotional sensitivity run amok. Those were divine signals. Those were heaven breaking through the membrane of the ordinary to remind you that you are not simply a body moving through a physical world. You are a spirit, housed in a body, walking through a world that is far more layered and alive with meaning than most people ever pause long enough to perceive. And you have always perceived it. That has always been part of your design. Think about the dreams you have had that felt too real to dismiss. Dreams where you received instructions or warnings, or where you saw faces of people you had never met and then encountered them weeks later. Dreams where something was spoken over you that you carried into waking life like a weight that would not lift until you finally acted on what was shown to you. Heaven speaks in dreams. That is not a new idea. It is woven into the oldest texts of human history. God spoke to Joseph through dreams that his brothers mocked and his father could not fully understand. God spoke to Daniel through visions in the night that altered the course of kingdoms. And God has been speaking to you through the same language, through the same ancient channel, because the God who spoke then is the same God who is speaking now. And it has not only been in dreams. The signs have shown up in the waking hours too. You have noticed patterns that others walk past without a second glance. Numbers that appear repeatedly in moments that feel significant. Encounters with strangers who said exactly what you needed to hear at exactly the right moment, and then were gone, as though they materialized for that single purpose and no other. Scriptures that seemed to leap off the page and lodge themselves in your heart with a force that felt personal, as though God had underlined them specifically for you and placed them in your path on a day when you were questioning everything. None of that was coincidence. There is no such thing as coincidence in the life of someone chosen. There is only divine orchestration disguised as ordinary circumstance. Heaven does not use coincidence. Heaven uses precision. And every sign, every signal, every nudge in the spirit that you have received throughout your life has been a coordinate in a navigation system guiding you toward this exact season. The restlessness you have felt in recent months was not anxiety without cause. It was a spiritual alert. Something in you knew, before your mind could articulate it, that something was shifting in the atmosphere. Something was approaching. Something was being prepared. That something is tied to July 1 and 2 in a way that cannot be fully contained in human explanation. There are moments in the biblical timeline where heaven synchronizes with earth in such a deliberate and undeniable way that those who are spiritually awake recognize it immediately. Elijah recognized it. He heard the still small voice not in the earthquake, not in the fire, but in the quietness that came after. Moses recognized it in the burning bush, something that should have been impossible, a fire that consumed nothing, a sign that stopped him in the middle of an ordinary day and redirected the entire trajectory of his life. These were not moments those men manufactured. These were moments heaven arranged and then placed those men at the exact location where they would not be able to miss them. Heaven has been arranging your path in the same way. Every detour, every unexpected change in direction, every moment where your plans collapsed and something you did not ask for stepped into the gap. Heaven was redirecting you. Heaven was ensuring that on this particular side of time, in these particular days, you would be positioned exactly where you need to be to receive what is coming. Not almost positioned, not nearby, exactly positioned. Because God is not a God of almost, He is a God of appointed times and set seasons, and this is one of those times. The thing about divine signs is that they do not always come wrapped in what we expect. We wait for the dramatic. We look for the spectacular. We assume that when God is about to move powerfully, the signal will be undeniable, unmistakable, and impossible to overlook. But often the most significant signs are the quiet ones, the ones that require spiritual attentiveness to notice, the ones that show up in the middle of a normal Tuesday, in a conversation that takes an unexpected turn, in a verse that finds you when you were not even looking, in a video that begins playing on a screen in front of you, that you almost scrolled past but did not. You almost scrolled past this, but you did not. That is a sign. The fact that something in you paused, something in you leaned in, something in you said, "Wait, let me hear this." That was not random. That was the drawing of the Holy Spirit. That was the shepherd's voice calling the sheep by name, and the sheep recognizing the sound of the one who has always known and always kept them. You recognize this because something in you has been trained for years in the wilderness of waiting to recognize the voice of the one who sent you here. And what that voice is saying to you now is this: everything you have been sensing is real. The stirring in your spirit over these last weeks and months is not manufactured emotion. The feeling that something is about to change, that a door is about to open, that a weight is about to lift, that a promise long deferred is suddenly and powerfully close. That feeling is accurate. Your spirit is not lying to you. Your discernment is not failing you. Heaven has been broadcasting at a frequency that your spirit has been picking up, and the message being transmitted is clear. The appointed time is here. The signs were leading to this. The restless nights, the unexplainable knowing, the dreams, the numbers, the moments that felt too precise to be accidental, they were all pointing here, to July 1 and 2, to a threshold that exists not just on a calendar, but in the spirit realm, where something ancient is being finalized, something new is being authorized, and something that was locked is about to be released with the full force of heaven behind it. You have not been imagining things. You have been perceiving things. And what you have been perceiving is about to become visible in your natural life, in ways that will leave no room for doubt. The signs you could not ignore were never meant to confuse you. They were meant to prepare you. They were heaven's way of saying, stay awake, stay alert, Stay positioned, because what is coming requires a soul that is awake enough to receive it and rooted enough not to be overwhelmed by it. You have been in training, and the training is almost complete. What comes next in your life will make sense of everything that came before it. The pain will find its purpose. The waiting will find its reason. The signs will find their fulfillment. And you will stand on the other side of these days and understand, perhaps for the first time with total clarity, that every single step of your journey was guided. Every single moment was known, and not one tear you cried in the dark was ever wasted by the God who collects them all. There is a war being fought over your life that you cannot see with your natural eyes, but that you have felt every single day. You have felt it in the resistance that rises every time you try to move forward. You have felt it in the exhaustion that settles into your bones, not after physical labor, but after spiritual pressure. You have felt it in the sudden waves of doubt that crash over you, in the moments right before a breakthrough, the moments when everything in you is about to step into something new and something unseen pushes back with a force that feels disproportionate to any natural explanation. That pushback is not coming from the people around you, though sometimes it wears their faces. That pushback is not coming from your own weakness, though the enemy will always try to convince you that it is. That resistance you have been experiencing, that invisible weight pressing against your progress, that voice that whispers you are too late, too broken, too far gone, too ordinary for anything significant to happen in your life, that is not the voice of truth. That is the voice of something that knows exactly what you carry and is terrified of the moment you fully walk into it. Because here is the truth that darkness does not want you to understand. The intensity of the spiritual warfare in your life is directly proportional to the magnitude of what God has placed inside you. Light does not draw fire from darkness unless it is powerful enough to disrupt the darkness. A candle in a well-lit room goes largely unnoticed, but a torch in deep darkness becomes a target the moment it is lit. You are not just a candle. You have never been just a candle. You are a torch, and the darkness has known it since before you knew it yourself. Think about the seasons in your life when the opposition was most fierce. Not the ordinary difficult seasons that every human being walks through, but the seasons where the warfare felt specific, where the attacks felt personal, where it seemed as though the obstacles were not random but arranged, as though something was working overtime to ensure that you stayed exactly where you were and never moved an inch forward. Those seasons of concentrated warfare were not accidents. They were confirmations. They were hell's response to heaven's investment in your life. You do not organize a military campaign against someone who poses no threat. The enemy does not pour resources into dismantling a life that carries no kingdom authority. The fact that you are still here after everything that has come against you is itself a declaration of the power working in your favor. You should have quit. By every natural measure, there were enough reasons, enough pain, enough loss, enough disappointment to have justified walking away from faith, from purpose, from the belief that your life was going somewhere meaningful. But you did not quit. Something in you refused to surrender, even in the moments when surrender would have felt like relief. That something was not just human determination. That was the grace of God anchoring you to a future that the enemy could see, but that you could only sense from a distance. And now that distance is closing. The future that was once a faint shimmer on the horizon is becoming something you can feel approaching with the kind of certainty that settles not in the mind, but in the bones. July 1 and 2 are not simply arriving, they are breaking through. The spiritual atmosphere is shifting. And the warfare that has been most intense in these recent days and weeks is not evidence that you are losing. It is evidence that you are close. The enemy always turns up the pressure when he senses that the appointed time is near. He always increases the noise when heaven is about to speak something definitive. The storm before the breakthrough is still a storm, but it is also a sign. Do not mistake the turbulence for defeat. Do not interpret the pressure as abandonment. Do not allow the intensity of what you are feeling in this season to convince you that God has lost track of you, or that the promises over your life have somehow expired. They have not expired. They are not delayed. They are being delivered on the exact schedule that heaven wrote before the beginning of your story. And what the enemy intended as a final offensive against your faith is about to become the very ground on which your victory is established. The Bible is clear about this pattern. David was hunted in caves before he sat on the throne. Joseph was thrown into a pit and sold into slavery before he stood at the right hand of Pharaoh. Esther spent years in preparation and hiddenness before she opened her mouth in the moment that would save an entire people. The pattern of heaven is consistent. The greater the assignment, the more concentrated the preparation. The more significant the calling, the more severe the warfare that precedes the fulfillment. You are not in a pattern of perpetual suffering. You are in a pattern of divine preparation that is reaching its completion. And here, in this space, in this community that gathers around these words, every time a new message is released, we want you to know that you are not walking through any of this alone. Every person who watches these videos, every soul who finds their way to this channel in a moment of searching, every chosen one who sits with these words and feels the recognition of truth moving through them, they are part of the same remnant. You are surrounded by a company of people who understand the weight of what you carry because they carry it too. That is not a small thing. That is a gift. We pour everything we have into creating this space for you. Every word is prayed over. Every message is crafted with the intention of reaching the one who needs it most at the exact moment they need it. This channel exists because we believe that God is moving through digital space. He has always moved through any available vessel, with purpose, with precision, and with love for the ones who are listening. If these messages have been a source of strength for you, if you have come here in a dark moment and left with something that helped you hold on, we have a simple ask from the heart. Hit the like button on this video right now, not as a transaction, but as an agreement, as your way of saying, yes, this word is for me, and I want more people to find it. That one small gesture tells the platform that this message matters, and it helps us reach more chosen ones who are still searching for a word that was written just for them. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, we warmly invite you to do so that every time a new word is released, it finds its way to you without you having to go looking for it. And if you feel led to share this video with even one person in your life who is walking through a difficult season right now, please do. Your share could be the very thing that reaches someone standing at the edge of giving up. If this content has genuinely impacted your life, and you feel moved in your heart to support the continuation of this work, there is a link in the pinned comment and in the description where you can contribute. This channel is no longer monetized through YouTube, and we share that not as a complaint, but as a transparency. We are here because we believe in this, not because of what it generates. If you feel moved to give, even a small amount, it goes directly into keeping this ministry alive. And if giving is not possible for you right now, simply being here, watching, liking, commenting, and sharing is more than enough. You are valued here regardless. Now, back to the battlefield of your life. Because what we need you to understand before this section closes is that the warfare you have been navigating is about to shift in your favor in a way that will be undeniable. The enemy has overplayed his hand. He has spent so much energy trying to keep you from this moment that he has inadvertently directed all of your attention toward exactly the threshold heaven wanted you to find. He meant to distract you. Instead, he drove you here. He meant to discourage you. Instead, he deepened your hunger. He meant to silence you. Instead, he sharpened your voice. The battlefield behind your eyes, the one where fear has whispered its worst and doubt has done its most persistent work, that battlefield is about to become the ground of your most significant testimony. Because God does not waste war. He redeems it. He takes the very arena where the enemy thought he had the advantage and turns it into the place where his glory is most visibly displayed. You are not losing this battle. You never were. There are moments in Scripture where God draws a line in time. Not a suggestion, not a preference, a line. A moment where one era closes and another opens. Where what was possible before is no longer available, and what was impossible before suddenly becomes the only thing on the table. Noah entered the ark and the door was shut, not by human hands. The text says God shut it. One moment the door was open, the next moment it was not, and every soul on the outside of that door in the seconds after it closed understood with terrible clarity that the time for decision had passed. The flood did not begin the moment of judgment. The closing of the door did. Lot walked out of Sodom, and fire fell. The departure of one righteous man was the signal heaven was waiting for before the sentence was carried out. Abraham received the promise of a son in a season where every natural indicator yet said it was too late. His body was as good as dead, and Sarah had long since stopped believing that her womb would ever know the weight of a child. And yet God came to him in a specific moment, at a specific time, and said the appointed season is now. Not eventually. Not someday now. Within the year the child will be in your arms. These are not just historical accounts. These are patterns. These are the fingerprints of a God who operates in appointed times with a consistency that spans every generation. He has always worked this way. He always will. And the pattern that emerges from every one of these moments is the same. There is a before, there is an after, and there is a threshold between them that only exists for a specific window of time. Miss the window, and you miss the moment. Enter it, and everything changes. July 1 and 2 are that threshold for you. Not metaphorically, not as an inspirational framework to help you feel motivated, as a genuine, spiritually significant marker in the timeline of your life where heaven is drawing a line. On one side of that line is everything you have been carrying, the weight of the unfinished, the unfulfilled, the delayed, the doubted, the mourned. On the other side of that line is the release, the opening, the authorization of things that have been held in the spiritual realm, waiting for this exact coordinate in time to be made manifest in the natural. This is what the word final step means when applied to these 2 days. It is not the final step in the sense that your journey ends here. It is the final step in the sense that the preparation ends here. The testing ends here. The proving season draws its last breath here. And what begins on the other side is not more of the same thing dressed in different circumstances. What begins on the other side is a categorically different chapter, written in a different ink, with a different authority, carrying a different weight and a different speed than anything you have experienced in the seasons behind you. You have been in a process. That process has been long. For some of you, it has felt impossibly long. So long that you began to question whether you had misheard the original promise, whether the word you received was genuinely from heaven, or simply the product of your own longing dressed up as prophecy. But the length of the process was never evidence of a faulty promise. It was evidence of the magnitude of what the promise was pointing toward. Small destinations require short journeys. The fact that yours has taken as long as it has is not an indictment of the promise. It is an indication of the size of what you are walking into. Think about what it takes to build something that will last. A structure that is meant to stand for its generation cannot be raised in a weekend. The foundation alone requires time, patience, and the kind of careful work that is invisible to everyone watching from the outside. From the street, a construction site in its early phases looks like nothing but disruption, dust, and delay. The ground is torn up. The landscape looks worse than it did before the process began. But beneath the surface, something permanent is being established. Something is being laid that will hold the weight of everything that is coming. Your life in these last years has looked like a construction site to the outside eye. It has been messy and uncertain, and at times it has appeared to be moving backward rather than forward. But beneath the surface of everything that looked like disruption, heaven has been laying a foundation. Heaven has been establishing something in you that is permanent, that is load-bearing, that is capable of holding the weight of the assignment that is about to be placed upon it. The disruption was not the destination. The foundation was being laid. And now the foundation is complete. Now the building can begin in earnest. Now what was happening beneath the surface is about to become visible above it. July 1 and 2 are the moment the scaffolding comes down and what has been under construction is finally revealed, not just to the world around you, but to you yourself. Because there are dimensions of what God has built in you during these years that you have not yet fully seen. There are depths of capacity in you, depths of grace, of wisdom, of authority, of compassion that the process was producing even when you were not aware of it being produced. This is the final step, not because it is the last thing God will ever do in your life, but because it is the last thing required before the new assignment can begin. Think of it the way a surgeon thinks of the final suture. The surgery has been long. The patient has been on the table through the most vulnerable and exposed season of their life, open and dependent and unable to do anything but trust the one who is working. And then the final suture goes in, and the closure is complete, and the healing can now begin in earnest, from the inside out, with everything properly aligned and properly sealed, and properly positioned for full restoration. You have been on the table. You have been in the most vulnerable season of your spiritual life, open in ways that felt dangerous, exposed in ways that felt undignified, dependent in ways that felt humbling to a soul that once thought it could manage everything on its own. And God has been working, quietly, precisely, with a skill and a care that no human surgeon could replicate. And now the final step is being taken. The final suture is going in. And what comes next is not more surgery. What comes next is healing at a pace and a depth that will astonish you. Do not spend these remaining days before July 1 and 2 in a posture of striving. Do not try to manufacture something in the natural to match what heaven is doing in the spirit. Do not run ahead of the process in an attempt to help God finish what He has already completed. The final step is not one you take through effort. It is one you take through surrender, through alignment, through the simple but profound act of saying with your whole heart, I trust what you are doing. I trust the timeline you are working in. I trust that this is real and that what you have promised will come to pass, and that I do not need to understand every detail of how in order to receive the fullness of what is coming. That posture of trust is itself an act of faith, that heaven honors. It is the posture of someone who has been through enough to know that God's ways are not their ways, that His thoughts are not their thoughts, that the path He chooses is always better than the path they would have designed for themselves, even if it looks nothing like what they imagined. You have learned that in the wilderness. You have learned it in the waiting. And now that learning is about to be vindicated in a way that words spoken before the fact could never fully prepare you for. July 1 and 2 are not the end. They are the beginning of what you have been waiting for, long enough to know that when it arrives, you will not take it for granted. You will know what it cost. You will know what was endured to get here, and that knowing will make what is coming not just a blessing but a testimony. Not just a personal miracle but a declaration to everyone watching your life that the God who promised is the God who delivers, always on time. Never a moment too early or too late. Always exactly when the foundation is ready to hold what He is about to build. The final step is yours to take, and you are ready. Something is moving in the heavenly realm right now that has no precedent in your personal's history. You have experienced the goodness of God before. You have had moments of grace, moments of unexpected provision, moments where a door opened that you did not knock on, and a blessing arrived that you did not plan for. But what is being released in this season is not a repeat of anything you have already experienced. It is not an upgrade of the previous chapter. It is an entirely new category of divine activity, one that requires new eyes to see it, a new posture to receive it, and a new language to describe it once it has fully arrived. Heaven is not simply answering your prayers right now. Heaven is executing a plan, and there is a significant difference between the two. When you pray and God answers, it feels personal, intimate, responsive, and it is all of those things. But when heaven executes a plan, what you witness is something larger than the sum of your individual requests. You begin to see connections between things that seemed entirely unrelated. You begin to notice that provision came from a direction you never anticipated, that the relationship that is changing your life walked in through a door you never thought to open, that the opportunity presenting itself was being prepared in a room you had no access to while you were busy waiting in another room entirely. That is the nature of what God is releasing now. It is multi-dimensional. It is operating on levels simultaneously that your natural mind cannot track all at once. Angels are being dispatched with assignments that were written in eternity and are now being executed in time. The word angel means messenger, and these messengers are not traveling slowly. They are moving with the urgency of heaven behind them, carrying the specific things that belong to your specific life, things that were held in the spiritual realm pending the arrival of this appointed season. Ancient promises are being activated, and when the word ancient is used here, it does not only refer to promises from Scripture, though those are absolutely included. It refers also to the promises that were spoken over your life in prayer by people who carried genuine anointing. The words that a grandmother prayed over you when you were too young to understand what she was asking God for. The declaration a pastor made over you in a moment that felt ordinary at the time, but that settled into your spirit in a way that never fully left. The word you received years ago that you wrote down and then tucked away because the waiting became too long and you were afraid to keep looking at it. Those words did not expire. They were placed in the keeping of heaven, held there with perfect preservation, awaiting the moment of their appointed release. That moment is now. Doors that have been sealed for years are about to open before you, not cracked, not slightly ajar, in a way that requires you to push against them with all your strength just to slip through sideways. Opened, fully, with the kind of divine authority behind the opening that makes it unmistakably clear that no human hand orchestrated it. When God opens a door, it does not require your effort to keep it open. It does not require you to manage the opening or maintain the momentum. It swings wide, and it stays wide for as long as heaven intends it to remain open. And what walks through those doors in your life will be things you have believed for, things you have almost stopped believing for, and things you did not even know to ask for because they exceed the boundaries of what your imagination had allowed itself to envision. This is the nature of exceeding abundantly. Paul wrote in the letter to the Ephesians that God is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that works in us. That phrase, exceeding abundantly above all that we ask or think, is not poetic exaggeration. It is a precise description of the category of what God is capable of releasing when the appointed time arrives and the prepared vessel is in position. You have been that vessel in preparation. You are now that vessel in position. And exceeding abundantly is not a distant theological concept. It is what is coming through the doors that are opening over your life right now. Think about what that means in the practical landscape of your days. The financial situation that has felt immovable, the ceiling that seemed to be fixed in place no matter what you did or how faithfully you worked or how generously you gave in seasons when you had very little to give. Heaven is touching that ceiling. The relationship landscape that has felt sparse and disconnected, the loneliness that has persisted even when you surrounded yourself with people because the right people had not yet arrived. Heaven is rearranging that landscape, the physical body that has carried the weight of stress and grief and the accumulated toll of years of spiritual warfare. Heaven is releasing restoration into that body at a cellular level that medicine cannot fully explain, and that you will feel as a lightness, a vitality, an energy that reminds you of who you were before the long seasons took their toll. And the calling, the assignment, the thing that has lived in you like a seed that has not yet broken ground, the dream that you have carried so carefully for so long, protecting it from the frost of other people's doubt and the drought of your own discouragement. Heaven is releasing the rain. Heaven is releasing the warmth. Heaven is creating the exact conditions in which what has been seed will become forest. What has been whisper will become declaration. What has been private knowing will become public testimony. This is not the time to shrink. This is not the time to talk yourself out of what your spirit is confirming. This is not the time to defer the receiving of what heaven is releasing because some part of you still feels unworthy of it, or unprepared for it, or uncertain that you heard correctly all those years ago. You heard correctly. The promise was real. The assignment is genuine. And the releasing that is happening right now in the spiritual atmosphere over your life is the confirmation of everything you believed in the dark that you could not yet see in the light. We want to pause here and speak directly to you from this community, from this space that you have made your own by showing up again and again, even in the seasons when showing up required everything you had. If what is being spoken in this message is landing in your spirit with the weight of truth, if something in you is saying, yes, this is for me, this is my moment, we would ask you simply and sincerely to like this video right now. That single action carries more weight than you might realize. It tells the platform that this word is reaching people. It helps this message find its way to other chosen ones who are waiting for exactly what you just heard, and who may not find it without your simple yes pressed into that button. And if someone comes to mind as you are watching this, someone whose name has surfaced in your thoughts in recent days, someone who is in a hard season and needs to hear that heaven has not forgotten them. Please share this video with them today. Not with a long explanation. Just send it. Let the word do what words anointed by heaven always do when they find the right ears. If you are not yet part of this community through subscription, we warmly invite you to subscribe now so that every new message finds you without you having to search for it. This channel exists as a consistent voice in your corner, and we want to keep showing up for you the way you have kept showing up here. And if you feel something in your heart moving you toward supporting this work in a tangible way, the link is in the pinned comment and in the description below. This channel is no longer monetized through YouTube. We create these messages because we believe in what God is doing through this space, not because of what it generates for us. If you feel led to give, whatever you are able, it is received with deep gratitude, and it goes directly into ensuring that this ministry continues to reach chosen ones in every corner of the earth. If giving is not your season right now, your presence, your like, your comment, and your share are genuinely and completely enough. Because what is being built here is not a platform. It is a gathering place for the remnant, for the chosen ones who needed somewhere to land when the world felt too loud and too indifferent and too far from the frequency of heaven. You found this place. And now heaven is releasing through this place a word that will follow you out of this video and into the days ahead, carrying with it the weight of what was just spoken and the authority of the one who sent it. What heaven is releasing now is already in motion. The angels are already moving. The promises are already being activated. The doors are already swinging. Your only assignment is to remain open, remain expectant, and remain in the posture of one who knows that what is coming has already been sent. There is a moment in every chosen one's journey where the road behind them becomes longer than the road ahead, where the weight of what has already been endured begins to feel like enough, where something deep in the human spirit whispers that surely what has already been given is sufficient, that surely no more can be required, that surely the price that has already been paid is adequate for whatever assignment heaven has in mind. And it is precisely in that moment, in that exact place of spiritual fatigue and quiet resignation, that the most dangerous choice presents itself. Not the choice to do something overtly wrong, not the choice to fall into some visible and dramatic rebellion, but the choice to simply stop, to sit down in the middle of the road and decide that here is far enough. Do not sit down, not now, not here, not when you are this close. Because what you do not yet fully see from where you are standing is that the road behind you, as long and as difficult as it has been, was always leading to a specific destination. Every step you took in the wilderness was a step toward the promised land, not away from it. Every year of wandering in the desert had a coordinate embedded in it that was moving you, sometimes imperceptibly, sometimes in ways that felt more like backward than forward, toward the exact place where the promise would be fulfilled. And the distance between where you are right now and the fulfillment of everything heaven has spoken over your life is not as vast as the exhaustion in your body is telling you it is. Exhaustion lies. It always has. It takes the distance still remaining and stretches it in the imagination until it appears insurmountable. It takes the obstacles that still stand and magnifies them until they appear impassable. It whispers that you have already given everything and that nothing is left to give, when the truth is that what remains in you, even now, even after everything, is more than enough for the final stretch. Because what remains in you is not human reserves that have been depleted by years of warfare. What remains in you is the Spirit of the living God, which does not deplete, which does not tire, which does not run low in the moments when the human frame is running on empty. The Israelites stood at the border of Canaan after 40 years of wilderness. 40 years. An entire generation had been born, lived, and died in the desert. The ones who finally stood at that border were not the ones who had made the journey the easiest or the most efficient. They were the ones who had simply refused to stop. They were the ones who kept moving even when the manna felt monotonous, even when the water ran dry, and they had to cry out for a miracle just to make it through another day. Even when the voices around them said, "This is pointless. This, God has forgotten us. Let us go back to Egypt where at least we knew what to expect." They did not go back. They kept moving. And the ones who kept moving were the ones who stood at the edge of everything that had been promised. You are at that border right now. The wilderness is behind you. What is ahead of you is the land. And the cost of turning back in this moment is not simply the loss of the blessing. It is something far more serious than that. It is the forfeiture of the assignment itself. Because assignments have appointed times, and when a chosen one steps back from the threshold, at the moment heaven is opening it, what closes is not just a door of personal blessing. What closes is an entire corridor of kingdom impact that was intended to flow through that life and into the lives of everyone connected to it. The people who are waiting for you do not yet know they are waiting for you. They do not know your name. They have not seen your face. But they are in a place right now where the absence of your obedience is creating a gap that nothing else can fill. There are people whose healing is on the other side of your courage. There are people whose freedom is tied to your willingness to walk fully into the assignment that has your name on it. There are children, some of them not yet born, whose stories will be shaped by whether or not you chose to cross the border when heaven opened it. This is the weight of being chosen. It is not simply a personal privilege. It is a communal responsibility. When God selects a life for a specific purpose, the blessing that flows through that life is never intended only for the one carrying it. It is intended to overflow. It is intended to create a ripple that reaches further than the eye can see and longer than a single lifetime can contain. The fullness of what you are carrying is not for you alone. It was never just for you. And every moment you spend in hesitation at this border is a moment that the people downstream of your calling continue to wait without what they were designed to receive from your life. That is not a guilt trip. It is a revelation of your significance. Because a life that carries nothing of kingdom consequence affects no one downstream. It is only the lives that carry genuine weight, genuine light, genuine divine assignment, that have the kind of impact that makes their hesitation at the border costly to others. You are not hesitating because you are insignificant. You are hesitating because the enemy understands your significance better than you do, and he has worked very hard to ensure that the weight of stepping forward feels heavier than the weight of staying where you are. But staying where you are is no longer a neutral option. There was a season when waiting was the assignment. There was a season when stillness was the most obedient posture you could take. But that season is closing. And in its place, July 1 and 2 are ushering in a season where movement is the assignment, where forward is the only direction that heaven is blessing, where the very act of stepping across the border is itself an act of worship, a declaration that you trust the one who opened the door more than you fear what standing in a new place will require of you. And here is what that new place will require. It will require you to release the identity that the wilderness built, because the wilderness builds a particular kind of identity in a person. It builds resilience, yes, and depth, and a kind of faith that can only be forged in the fire of long waiting. But it also builds a familiarity with limitation. It builds a comfort with smallness that masquerades as humility. It builds a set of internal walls designed to protect a heart that has been disappointed too many times. Walls that were necessary in the desert, but that will become a prison in the promised land if they are not dismantled before you cross. You have to be willing to receive more than the desert trained you to expect. You have to be willing to occupy a larger space than the wilderness allowed. You have to be willing to be seen in ways that hiddenness made you forget how to handle. You have to be willing to be trusted with more than the lean years taught you to steward, trusting that the God who is releasing the more is also the God who will give you the wisdom and the character to carry it without it becoming a stumbling block. The cost of turning back is the life you were actually designed to live, left unrealized, unlived, untouched by the fullness of what heaven prepared for it. That cost is not one you are willing to pay, not after everything you have endured to get here, not after every tear and every prayer and every night of pushing through when pushing through made no natural sense. You did not survive all of that to stop at the border. You survived all of that to cross it. And the crossing is not as terrifying as the enemy needs you to believe it is, because you will not cross it alone. You never move alone. The same God who sustained you in the wilderness is the God who goes before you into the promised land. The same hand that held the thread of your life through every season of darkness is the same hand that is now holding the door open and saying, "Come, come now, come fully, come without looking back." The cost of turning back is everything, and you have not come this far to pay it. You have never been as alone as the enemy tried to make you feel. In the darkest seasons, in the rooms where you sat with your grief and your confusion and your unanswered questions, in the moments where you looked around at the landscape of your life and saw no one who truly understood the depth of what you were carrying, the isolation felt absolute. It felt like a fact. It felt like evidence that something was fundamentally wrong with you, that the very thing that made you chosen also made you unreachable, unknowable, permanently separated from the kind of belonging that other people seem to find so effortlessly. But isolation was never the truth about your life. It was a weapon deployed against your perception to keep you from recognizing what was actually happening around you in the spirit. Because while you were sitting in that room feeling utterly alone, heaven was doing something extraordinary. Heaven was gathering. Heaven was locating. Heaven was positioning. Not just you, but an entire company of souls who carry the same frequency, the same hunger, the same fingerprint of divine selection that marks your life. And the gathering that heaven has been orchestrating in the unseen realm is now beginning to manifest in the seen one. You are part of a remnant. That word carries more weight than its size suggests. A remnant is not simply a small group. A remnant is the portion that was preserved through the fire, the piece that survived when everything around it was consumed, the thread that held when every other thread broke. In every generation, God has kept a remnant, a company of souls set apart, not by their perfection, but by their persistence, not by their strength, but by their refusal to let go of the hand that was holding them even when they could not feel it. In the days of Elijah, when the prophet sat under the juniper tree and told God he was the only one left, God corrected him. There were 7,000 who had not bowed the knee. 7,000 who had held on in hiddenness, unknown to each other, unknown to the prophet who thought he was alone, but known completely to heaven. You are one of those 7,000, and the 7,000 are finding each other now. This is the awakening that is happening alongside the personal breakthrough coming into your life through July 1 and 2. It is not only your individual story that is shifting. It is the collective story of the remnant. An entire company of chosen ones who were scattered through years of individual wilderness journeys is now being drawn together into a synchronized moment of emergence. The isolation is ending, not just for you, for all of you at once. And when chosen ones find each other, after years of carrying their assignments in solitude, something is released in the atmosphere that is greater than the sum of its individual parts. Think about what happens when individual flames come together. A single candle in a dark room provides light, but it also flickers. It is vulnerable to the wind. It can be extinguished by a single breath from the wrong direction. But when many flames come together, when the individual lights of many chosen ones merge into a single fire, what you have is no longer a collection of candles. What you have is a bonfire, and a bonfire does not flicker in the wind. A bonfire bends the wind. A bonfire changes the temperature of the air around it. A bonfire can be seen from a distance that a single candle could never reach. This is what God is building right now. Not a collection of isolated chosen ones, each carrying their individual light in separate dark rooms. He is building a fire. He is gathering the remnant and positioning them in proximity to one another, spiritually first, and in many cases physically soon after, so that what emerges from this appointed season is not a series of individual testimonies, but a corporate declaration. A unified roar of the remnant that will be heard and felt in the spiritual atmosphere in ways that darkness cannot ignore, and that heaven has been anticipating since before the foundations of the earth were laid. And your piece of this is irreplaceable. This needs to be understood with clarity. In a gathering of chosen ones, there is no redundancy. Heaven does not call two people to carry exactly the same thing. What you carry is specific to you, the particular combination of your experience, your gifting, your history, your wounds that became wisdom, your questions that became revelation, your losses that became the very material out of which your deepest ministry is fashioned. No one else carries that exact combination. No one else can fill your place in the fire. If you step back from the threshold, if you allow the cost of crossing to convince you to sit down at the border, the gap your absence creates is not filled by someone else doing it better. It remains a gap. A specific frequency goes silent. A specific light does not join the bonfire. And the fire is diminished in a way that only the fulfillment of your assignment can restore. You are needed, not in the way the world uses that word, as a polite affirmation designed to make someone feel useful. You are needed in the way that a body needs each of its members, in the way that a symphony needs each instrument, in the way that a foundation needs each stone, placed precisely in the position it was cut to fill. The remnant is incomplete without you in it. And heaven has been holding space for your arrival in the gathering for longer than you know. This community, this channel, this space that you have returned to again and again is itself a small picture of that gathering. Every person who watches these videos is a chosen one, finding their way to a place where their frequency is recognized and their journey is honored. We do not take lightly the trust that represents. When someone brings their tired heart and their fragile faith to a space and sits with a message for 15 or 20 minutes, they are offering something precious. They are saying, I still believe something is out there for me. I still think there is a word with my name on it. I am still willing to listen. We receive that trust with deep reverence, and we want to keep showing up for it. We want to keep creating messages that meet the chosen one exactly where they are and speak to the specific weight they are carrying in each season. That is the heartbeat of this channel, and it is what we will continue to pour ourselves into as long as we are able. If this message has met you today, if something in these words has touched the place in you that needed touching, we would be so grateful if you would like this video right now. It is a small gesture that carries large impact. It tells the platform that this word is reaching people, and it helps us find our way to more chosen ones who are still in their wilderness, still waiting for a word that knows their name. If you feel moved to share this with someone today, please do. There is a chosen one in your circle, perhaps someone you have been thinking about recently. Perhaps someone whose face just appeared in your mind as you read that sentence, who needs to hear that the gathering is real and that there is a place for them in it. Your share could be the thing that finds them. If you are not yet subscribed, we warmly invite you to join this community so that every new word released through this channel arrives at your door without you having to go searching for it. You belong here. This is a gathering place for people like you, and the door is always open. And if you feel in your heart a desire to support this work in a tangible way, the link is in the pinned comment and in the description below. This channel is no longer monetized through YouTube, and every resource that goes into creating these messages comes from the generosity of those who believe in what is being built here. If you feel led to give, whatever amount feels right for your season, it is received with genuine gratitude, and it goes directly into ensuring that this fire keeps burning and this gathering place keeps its doors open for every chosen one who finds their way here. If giving is not where you are right now, your presence, your engagement, your like, and your share are more than enough. You are a valued part of this remnant regardless of what you are able to contribute in any material sense. Because the remnant is not built on transactions. It is built on something far more durable. It is built on the shared recognition of people who have survived the same fire, carried the same weight, felt the same call, and refused to let go of the same God through all of it. That is the bond of the chosen ones rising together. That is the fire that is gathering now. That is the community that July 1 and 2 are drawing into its fullness. You are not alone. You never were. And the proof of that is about to become undeniable in your life. There is something that happens in the spirit of a chosen one when they cross a certain threshold of revelation. It is not loud. It is not dramatic in the way that the outside world would recognize as significant. It happens quietly, in the interior landscape of the soul, like a key turning in a lock that has been sealed for a very long time. Something clicks. Something settles, something that was restless and searching and perpetually unsatisfied, finds the ground it has been looking for, and plants itself there with a certainty that no argument and no circumstance can dislodge. That is the moment of identity sealing. That is the moment where heaven finalizes in the spirit of a person what was written about them before they were formed in the womb. You are approaching that moment now. In fact, for many of you reading these words right now, that moment is not approaching. It is happening. The click you feel in your spirit as these words move through you is not coincidence. It is confirmation. It is heaven saying yes to everything you have suspected about yourself in your quietest and most honest moments. Yes, you are who you sensed you were. Yes, the calling is real. Yes, the assignment has your name on it. Yes, what you carry is significant. Yes, you were made for this. All of it, yes. Before July ends, something in your spirit will shift in a way that is permanent. Not a feeling that fades when the emotion of a message passes. Not a temporary elevation of spiritual awareness that settles back into ordinary the moment the pressures of daily life reassert themselves. Something permanent. Something that once it lands in you, changes the baseline of who you are and how you move through the world from that point forward. It is the kind of shift that people notice in you before you have the words to explain it to them. It is the kind of shift that shows up in your posture before it shows up in your proclamation. It is the kind of shift that makes the enemy recalibrate his approach to your life, because what worked before no longer lands the same way. Identity is the most contested territory in the life of a chosen one. It has always been, because the enemy understands something that is essential to grasp in this hour. He understands that a chosen one who does not know who they are is manageable. They can be manipulated through insecurity. They can be stalled through comparison. They can be silenced through shame. They can be redirected through the opinions of people who carry no genuine spiritual authority over their lives, but whose voices were given access in a season of vulnerability and never properly removed. A chosen one who does not know who they are can be kept in circles for decades, cycling through the same patterns of doubt and breakthrough and doubt again, never quite landing in the full possession of what belongs to them. But a chosen one who knows who they are is an entirely different proposition. A chosen one who has had their identity sealed by heaven, who walks in the settled knowledge of what they carry and who they serve, and what authority has been delegated to them for the assignment they have been given. That person cannot be manipulated through insecurity, because insecurity has no foothold in a settled identity. They cannot be silenced through shame, because shame requires an unhealed wound to attach itself to, and the sealing of identity comes with a healing of the wounds that shame had been using as its point of entry. They cannot be stalled through comparison, because they understand that their lane is not in competition with anyone else's lane, and that the only race they are running is the one marked out specifically for them. This is what July 1 and 2 are sealing in you. Not a new personality, not a dramatic external transformation that makes you unrecognizable to the people who love you, but a settled, rooted, unshakable knowing of who you are in heaven's eyes, of what you carry, of what you are authorized to do, of what belongs to you, and of what you were sent here to accomplish. That knowing, once it is sealed, becomes the lens through which everything else in your life is interpreted. Circumstances that would have previously sent you into a spiral of anxiety become simply the next thing to navigate with the annoyance of the authority you now know you carry. People who would have previously met you with a single critical word lose their power to move you, because their assessment of you with heaven's assessment of you, with heaven's assessment of you. You know what you know, and what you know cannot be argued away. There are names in Scripture that were changed at the moment of identity sealing. Abram became Abraham, Sarai became Sarah, Jacob became Israel, Simon became Peter, and in each of those cases, the name change was not simply a new label attached to the same person. It was a declaration of a new spiritual reality, a new identity sealed by heaven that carried with it new authority, new capacity, and new assignment. The person who walked away from that encounter with God was not the same person who had walked into it. Not because God had replaced them with someone else, but because God had finally revealed to them the fullness of who they had always been. A fullness that the old name, the old identity, the old way of seeing themselves had not been large enough to contain. Your name in heaven has not changed, but your understanding of what that name means is about to be enlarged beyond what the wilderness version of you had the capacity to hold. The you that is emerging from this season is not a different person. It is the fullest version of the person you have always been, the version that was always in there beneath the layers of hurt and doubt and borrowed identity and survival mode, thinking that the long years of difficulty deposited over the original design Heaven is stripping those layers now. Not harshly, not violently, but with the kind of precise and loving intention that a restorer brings to a masterpiece that has been obscured by centuries of grime. Layer by layer, the overlay is coming off, and what is being revealed beneath it is the original, the authentic, the version of you that was made in the image of God and carries the specific reflection of His nature that only you were designed to carry. Right now, in this moment, we want to invite you to make a declaration over your own life. Something short that carries the full weight of what your spirit is agreeing with in this moment. Type in the comments right now, claim your crown. Just those 3 words, claim your crown. Because a crown in Scripture is never merely decorative. It is the symbol of authority, of identity confirmed, of a position that has been assigned and recognized by a power higher than any earthly court. When you type those words, you are not reaching for something that does not belong to you. You are reaching for something that was placed on your head in the books of heaven before you ever arrived on this earth. Something that the long years of wilderness living caused you to forget was there. Something that July 1 and 2 are making undeniable once again. Claim your crown. Type it in the comments right now as your personal declaration that you receive what heaven is releasing, that you agree with what is being sealed in your spirit, that you are stepping out of the smallness that the wilderness imposed on you and into the fullness that was always your original design. Let those words be the first act of the new identity that is being confirmed in you, even as you read this. Because words spoken in agreement with heaven are not empty religious gestures. They are seeds planted in the spiritual atmosphere over your life that carry the DNA of the promise they declare. Every time a chosen one opens their mouth and speaks in alignment with what heaven has said about them, something moves, something shifts. Something in the unseen realm responds to the sound of a human voice agreeing with divine truth. Your declaration matters. Your claim matters. Heaven is listening and waiting for the sound of you saying yes to who you actually are. There are names in eternity that were changed at the moment of identity sealing, and yours is among them. Not changed to something foreign or unrecognizable. Changed to something truer, something larger, something that finally has enough room to contain everything that God placed in you before the world had a chance to tell you to make yourself smaller. The seal is being pressed into the wax of your life right now. Claim your crown, and once it is set, it is permanent. You have walked through 10 sections of this message, and something in you is different from the thread play at the beginning. You may not have the words for it yet. You might not be able to point to the exact moment where the shift happened. But it happened. Something landed, something settled. Something that was loose and uncertain inside you found its anchor, and the anchor held. That is not the power of words on a screen. That is the power of truth, finding the spirit it was written for. That is heaven delivering what it promised to deliver. Through whatever vessel, through whatever channel, through whatever unlikely combination of circumstances brought you to this exact moment in time. And this is the moment where everything converges. This is where the 10 sections behind you stop being individual pieces of a message and become a single unified word spoken over your life with the full weight of heaven behind it. You were chosen before the foundation of the earth. You were prepared through everything you endured. You were guided by signs that heaven placed in your path. You were sustained through spiritual warfare that was proportional to your significance. You are standing at the final step of a preparation that has been decades in the making. Heaven has been releasing angels and activating promises on your behalf. The cost of turning back is a life unlived in its fullness. You are part of a remnant that is rising together. Your identity is being sealed in the courts of heaven. And now, in this 10th and final movement of this message, you are being commissioned, not encouraged. Commissioned. There is a difference. Encouragement says you can do this. Commission says you are authorized to do this. Encouragement speaks to your capacity. Commission speaks to your authority. And what heaven is releasing over you in these days surrounding July 1 and 2 is not simply the encouragement to try harder or believe more or push through the resistance with greater determination. It is the commissioning of a soul who has been prepared, tested, refined, and found ready for the fullness of the assignment that was written over their life before they were born. Walk into it without fear. That instruction sounds simple, and it is at its core exactly as simple as it sounds. But simple's not the same as easy. Fear is a deeply familiar companion for someone who has walked a long wilderness road. Fear knows your name. Fear knows the particular shape of the doubts that have historically worked best against you. Fear knows which memories to surface at the moment of breakthrough to make the new thing feel too risky, and the familiar thing feel safer than it actually is. Fear is not small. It is not something to dismiss with a casual wave of spiritual bravado. It is a real force that must be confronted with an equally real force. And the force that stands against fear in the life of a chosen one is not courage in the human sense, not gritted teeth and white knuckles, and sheer willpower refusing to bend. The force that stands against fear in your life is the settled knowledge of who walks beside you. It is the unshakable awareness that the one who commissioned you is the same one who goes before you, who stands behind you, who covers you on every side, who has never lost a battle and has never abandoned a soul that was entrusted to his keeping. You do not walk into the new season alone. You walk into it carried by the same presence that carried you through every season that came before. And so, before this message closes, before these words release you into the days ahead, and the threshold of July 1 and 2 opens before you, we want to do something that feels right and necessary in this moment. We want to pray with you, not over you from a distance, but with you as fellow travelers who understand the weight of the road and the reality of the warfare and the absolute certainty of the God who holds it all. Father, we come before you right now on behalf of every chosen one who has walked through this message today. Every soul who arrived here carrying something heavy and is leaving carrying something settled. We thank you that you are a God of appointed times, and that this moment, this message, this convergence of your word and their spirit was not accidental. You arranged it. You drew them here with the same intentionality with which you drew every sign and every signal that has been pointing them toward this season. We ask you now, Lord, to seal what has been spoken. Let it not be a message that fades when the screen goes dark. Let it be a word that follows them into the morning, into the week July 1 and 2 and beyond. Let it be the word that is still alive in their spirit when the threshold opens, and they need the certainty of what was deposited here to take the step that is required of them. Cover them, Lord, from every assignment of the enemy that would seek to steal what was just planted. Silence the voice of doubt that will reinterpret this moment as emotion rather than encounter. Strengthen the root of what was received here so that when the winds of circumstance blow, and they will blow, this word holds. This knowing holds. This identity holds. And Lord, for the ones who are standing at the very edge of giving up, the ones for whom this message arrived at the last possible moment before something in them was going to close, meet them there. Meet them in the specific place of their specific pain with the specific grace that only you can provide. Let them feel, beyond argument and beyond doubt, that you see them, that you know them, that you have not forgotten them, and that what you began in them you are faithful and able to complete. We declare over every chosen one hearing these words that July 1 and 2 will mark a before and an after in their story, that what was sealed in heaven will become visible on earth, that what was promised in the spirit will manifest in the natural, that the doors that open in these days will stay open, that the angels dispatched are already moving, that the ancient promises are already activated, and that the fullness of the assignment written over each of these lives will be walked out in its entirety, to the glory of the one who wrote it and to the blessing of every person downstream of each obedient yes. In the name above every name it is done. Amen. Take that prayer with you. Let it settle in your bones. Let it be the last thing your spirit rehearses before you sleep tonight, and the first thing it reaches for when you wake tomorrow. Because what was just spoken over your life was not the closing of a video. It was the opening of a gate. Now, as we bring this message to its close, we want to speak to you one more time from the heart of this community. This channel exists for one reason: to find the chosen ones, to speak to the ones who are carrying something significant and who need to hear from a consistent voice that what they carry is real, that the God who called them has not changed his mind, and that the assignment written over their life is still very much alive and very much in motion. We do this entirely as an act of ministry now. YouTube no longer monetizes this channel. That door closed. But this door, the door of showing up for the chosen ones through every video we create, that door we have chosen to keep open regardless. Not because it is easy or without cost, but because we believe in what God is doing through this space, and we are not willing to stop simply because the financial support of the platform was removed. If this channel has been a place of refuge for you, if these messages have found you in your lowest moments and helped you hold on, and if something in your heart feels moved to help us keep going, there is a donate link in the pinned comment below and in the description of this video. Whatever you feel led to give, it goes directly into keeping this ministry alive, into the time and the resources that go into every word spoken over the lives of chosen ones through this channel. We receive every gift with deep gratitude and with the awareness that it is an act of partnership in something that belongs to God. And if giving is not where you are in this season, please know that your presence here is genuinely enough. Like this video so that more chosen ones can find it. Share it with someone who needs a word today. Subscribe if you have not already, so that every new message finds you without you having to search. Leave a comment below and tell us what landed for you, what shifted, what you are carrying into the days ahead. Your words matter to us, and they matter to the community of chosen ones who gather here. You came to this message for a reason. You stayed for a reason. And you are leaving with something that was meant specifically for you, placed in your hands by a God who has never once stopped thinking about you, planning for you, working on your behalf in the seen and unseen realms simultaneously. Walk forward, walk boldly, walk as one who has been commissioned by heaven and sealed by the hand of the Most High God. July 1 and 2 are yours. The final step is yours, and everything on the other side of it has been waiting for you all along.